Good afternoon, folks. This is RD with Outdoor Home, the Outdoor Home Stay-at-Home Cooking Show. We're doing brisket today. We're doing a 6-hour brisket. I call it melt in your mouth brisket. So we've got several clips that I've shot, and I got a little of the timing off when I verbally mentioned it earlier, but basically we're going to go ahead and get this brisket into this nice cutting board. We sell these disposable cutting boards. They're a food grade. They also have the edges fold up so they won't leak, they won't drip any juice out or anything like that. And then you just throw them away and you're 100% safe. You don't have a cutting board that you have meat and things that have cut into the cuts that you can use your knife. So we got this brisket flat here. We got this from Harder House. I had the butcher leave fat on the bottom. Whoops, let me grab that before it blows away. The wind's trying to help me out here. So I want that fat on the bottom because I was with some chefs many years ago, and they said, you know, the real way to cook a brisket, and especially if you want it tender and you don't want to cook it for 10-12 hours, is to do this method. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to season this brisket, and today I'm using Ultimate Steak and Roast Rub, Outdoor Home Ultimate Steak and Roast Rub. You'll season that pretty heavily. Then we're actually going to cover this brisket with sugar, about a couple of cups. And then we're going to put it in foil pan, and we're going to put foil over it, and we're going to slide that into the refrigerator for overnight. And what that will do is that'll do a tenderizing process, and it'll make this meat cook a lot faster, have a very tender and very good taste to it. You won't really taste the sugar at all. So let's get started here. We'll get some seasoning, and you can do this pretty liberally. You don't have to. Let me get some gloves on though first. I see I'm messing up, not thinking through everything. And by the way, I told you I'd show you the lake earlier today, and then I tried to show it to you, and I noticed a little later when I reviewed that one clip, you didn't get to see the lake at all. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, now we're ready. All right, so we're gonna put this on, and like I said, we're gonna rub it in there just like a little baby's behind. We're gonna smack it a little bit, pat it in there, and we're gonna make that thing really good and seasoned. And you wanna coat it pretty well. I like to lift this up and coat in under here. Put it there. And we're even going to season the back side of it. We're going to do the edges, get that in there and rub it in. Okay, so now we've got that. We're going to flip this over. Now we're going to do the back side a little bit. Now when we put this on, and I think I may have said this earlier in one of the videos, we're going to put this on fat side down about 230-40 degrees. With the smoking woods and everything, and you're going to smoke this like that for about 2.5-3 hours. We went 3 hours on the one that I'm going to be pulling off here shortly. And then when you let that go for that 2.5-3 hours, you'll pull it off, put it in a foil pan, fat side up. You'll add about 1/2 to 3/4 of a bottle of beer, and a little more seasoning if you want to sprinkle it on there also. And then you'll seal that back up, put it back on the egg, and at that point you're going to want to add the convector, and you'll be indirect, and you want that temperature right around 200 degrees. So then you just let it set for another 3 hours or so. If you're doing 2.5-3.5 hours, if you're actually wrapping it at that point. So total of 6-hour cooking time. We should have a wonderful, tender, very juicy brisket. We'll know shortly when we pull this other one off. So here we go. We're going to use 2 cups of sugar, and it's going to look just like a new fallen snow on meat when we get done. But you want to put the sugar on there, and you want to rub it into it a little bit, and that really does a good job of tenderizing. So we put the sugar on the back side, on the fat side. Now we're going to go across the top. We're going to make that snowfall come on here, and we're going to rub that in. We want this to really get absorbed by the meat. It'll create a lot of juices in your pan. That's really good. And then when you take this off to put it on the grill tomorrow, then what you'll do is you will actually shake the juices and the excess sugar off. And if you want to add a little more seasoning at that time, you can. I'm going to grab a pan here. I used to just wrap this in 2 layers of foil, but I found that these pans really tend to help. So we'll put that in there, and it barely fits. Put the rest of that sugar down the sides here a little bit, and a little on there, a little here. And didn't know it could snow this time of year, did you? There we go. Now, I'm gonna get some foil. We're gonna cover that, and then that's gonna be ready to go in the fridge and set overnight till tomorrow when we're gonna put it on. So we got this big foil right over here. If you've ever had trouble doing a brisket, a lot of times people worry about just doing a regular brisket. You're going to leave it on longer, the stall and all that. Well, if you don't really, I don't ever worry about that, because I just do my job of smoking. I put it in there and wrap it up, and I'll use the indirect method with the convector, and then I just let it go another 6 to 8 hours, just a regular brisket. But with the sugar process, you don't have to go that long. So here's the beauty of this board. I can wipe off the counter right into it. Do that right there. Now, guess what? This just goes in the trash. Simple, easy cleanup, nothing to it. I want to show you putting the brisket in after it has set, wrapped up all night. So I'll be doing that in just a moment. I want to kind of get this thing going. I've got this egg set about 250, 260 right now. It's a little higher than I want. I need it to be about 225 or so, 230, right in there. But we're going to put the brisket on, and I'm shooting this myself, so I apologize if maybe it's a little bit rough, okay? But you can see I'm going to pick this thing here up, and I'm going to show you. There's the brisket after it's set all night. And this is a sugar-coated, seasoned brisket. You'll see, I'll explain the whole process down the road here. But I wanted to get one on this morning so that you can see the finished product when we actually do the video. So this is kind of an insert. It's been coated very nicely with ultimate steak and roast rub, and it's also been covered with about 2 cups of sugar, top, bottom, sides, all the way around. So I've got my egg set here pretty close right now. I'm going to put some smoking woods in there, and what we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of oak and apple today, just to try something different. So I'm going to try to turn you down. I want to show you a couple little tricks here in a minute. Okay, so you see the egg there, and I'm opening it up. I'm going to take the grid out. Now, by the way, I want to show you too, the grill gripper, I use it a lot of times just to clean my grids. Just do like this and wipe them down. And then if you want to do the bottom side, all you just take the bottom piece, put it in under there and run it back and forth a few times on each one of them. Just a handy little grill cleaning tool tip if you don't have your brush or whatever. So it works great for me. And I always do a lot of things just a little bit different probably than most. So I'll lay that grid over there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not even soaking these woods, but I'm going to put a few apple chunks in here. I'm going to also put a few oak chunks in here. And once we get these chunks in here, just in case you want a little more smoke, and you notice I'm putting them in the hot part of the coals, that's where I want them. Then I'm going to lay just a few extras in case I want to reach in a little later and knock those into the fire. So that way you don't have to take the grid out. Now we're going to start out direct heat on this. So I got the smoking wood in. I'm putting the cooking grid in. And now I need to put on a pair of gloves. So I'm going to shut this down for just a moment so I can get my gloves on. And we'll try to get this thing rolling. So what we're doing now is we're going to get this brisket in there. And I seasoned this one a little heavier right off the bat. Normally I would put a little more seasoning on it at this time, because some people are a little more sensitive to heavier seasonings. We're going to do this one with just the way it is. So I'm going to open this up and see how that smoke's starting to boil out of there. Now I'm going to shake this off a little bit. And I had the butcher leave a little fat on the bottom, if you notice that. I want that fat because I'm going to char that fat and gel it. So I'm going to put it fat side down on the cooking grid. And I learned this years ago from a couple chefs to do the sugar treatment, and to cook it fat side down while you're smoking it. So our target temperature on the smoking of this is going to be about 230 degrees, right in there, 240, anywhere in that area is fine. So this will be on, and this will be a brisket that will come off tender. I call it melt in your mouth brisket. And that will come off really nice and tender in about 5 to 6 hours. What we're going to do though, we're going to process this brisket this way. We're going to smoke it. Put my dampers down where I want them at about the right temperature. So what we're going to do is we're going to smoke this brisket for 2 to 3 hours. Then you'll see, I'm going to take you out of this little nest here. Then you'll see we're going to put this in a, whoa, I'm sorry, Jazz. Oh, doggone it, what are you getting in my way? This is Jazz. Hi, Jazz. Anyway, Jazz got in my way, doggone him. But we're going to put this brisket on, and we're going to, about 2 or 3 hours, we're going to take it off. We'll either put it in a foil pan and put foil over it with a half a can of beer, or we'll wrap it in foil and put a half can of beer in there, and then we'll let it finish out. Well, at that time, we'll pull the temperature down to close to 200 degrees. I'm back again, folks. This is RD with Outdoor Home and the stay-at-home cooking show that we do live every day. I wanted to come back in. This is an insert that's going to be inserted into the live video because a brisket is a long process. So we've been about an hour, hour and a half or so on the cooking process, and I put some smoking woods in here. You can take a look at this right now. Look how nice that's looking. Beautiful, brown. Okay, so I wanted to add a little more smoking woods. You remember I put some smoking woods in the front of the grill? Well, you can take your ash tool and reach in there, and you can knock those woods into the hot part of the coals, and you can get an additional smoking job done. So we just got to knock them in there. Takes me just a minute. There we go. We're getting them out there where I want them, right there in the hot part of the coals. So we'll get that over there, right there. So I got a few more in there where I want them. So now we're going to start the smoking process again. So we're going to drop that down, and we're setting it at a perfect temperature of 225. So in about another 4 hours, we'll be pulling this thing off, coming back to you live. But I want to show you another little trick that I found. Brandon at our store at Outdoor Home, I told him, I said, you know, I've got my Mini Max and I've got those removable side shelves. And I said, you know, I always have trouble finding a place to put those. So I said, you know, I'd really like to cover that. Well, he came up with a cover that we sell. And look at this Mini Max right here. That's perfect for covering it when I'm at home. I can lift this right off. I don't have to store my side shelves, and voila, just like a regular grill, it's covered, easy to take care of, and it stays on. The other thing that I'll mention to you too, when I do take this brisket off, I will take you remember I put it fat side down to char the fat and gel the fat. Okay, this is some chefs that told me this many years ago. When I take it off and put it in the foil, I'll turn it over and put the fat side up. I'll put a half a can of beer in there. I'll probably drizzle a little bit more seasoning on it. So when that time comes, I will come back and show you that process also. Thank you. We're ready. It's been about 3 hours since we put this brisket on. If you'll notice, I've got my temperature pulled down right at 200 degrees now. I just pulled that down so that we can take this brisket and we want to take it off. We're going to put it in the foil pan. We're going to turn it over now. We've cook that brisket with the fat side down so it'll char it and gel the fat. So now we'll take it off, put it fat side up in this pan. We'll cover it with foil. We're also going to put about a half a bottle of beer in there. Then we're going to put it back on, and that's where I wanted it, is at that 200 degrees. We're also going to put the plate setter in there. So you'll just follow me. We'll just do that and get that done. So here we are. If you would like to see it the way it is right now, come in, Bev. Show them.
What's a plate setter, dear?
Oh, I'm sorry, the convector. Yeah. Well, they used to be called plate setters, and then it became a convector. So you can see that this has got great coloring, very nice looking. So we're going to try to gently flip this over. I don't know if it's going to fit my pan or not, but you can see that that fat's got a little char to it. It's all gelled there. Look how nice that looks. So now we'll take this. I'm going to shut this down for a minute. We're going to open this beer, and we're going to pour a good half of it in here because we want that liquid. Yeah, it's probably half there, but let's go just a little more. Okay, so that's about most of the beer. Now we'll wrap this in foil. Nobody said it was neat. You see how I got that stuff all over the counter? But let's see here. Okay. So now we're going to seal this. And we're going to wrap that all the way under. Boy, that smells good now. Can you smell that?
I can smell it. It smells really good.
It's really, really good. I wish you guys had smell-o-vision, but we don't. Okay, so that's wrapped and it's sealed. I folded that in under the lid. So now we're going to get the plate setter put on. I'm going to grab a pair of gloves because the plate setter's not hot right now, but it is a little dirty. Let's see here. Put it on the right hand. That always helps, you know. Okay, so we're going to pull the cooking grid right here, and I'm just going to set it on edge right there temporarily so that I can get this convector in. Okay, so here's your convector, and of course this way we're indirect. We're going to have the cooking grid on there, and the meat will sit on top of the cooking grid. If you turn it over that way and put it in, then it becomes a raised stone or a raised pizza stone. So we're going to put it in with the legs up, right in here. Okay, so there we go. Now we're ready to put our cooking grid in. So we'll grab that back. All right, put that in. And now you can see, if you want to come see now, the cooking grid is raised above that. So you have that total indirect heat. So now we're going to set this back in here. And this is going to go till about 1:30, because we put on 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 1:30 to 2 o'clock. Somewhere in there.
What time is it now?
It's, you got the time.
11:45.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
12?
11:45.
Okay. So this actually will be on until about 2:30. Pardon me. My timing got off. So here we go. Well, now we're going to do the reveal. So we've got this brisket on. He's been on right at 6 hours. And I brought me a big green egg platter out to put him on so we can check it out. I've got the big green knife, and I'm going to tell you, if you want a really nice knife, well balanced, get one of these knives. They are awesome. I've got the tongs, which they are nice. They've got the rubber tips. Very easy to handle things. So, let's see here. Okay. I'm going to get some other gloves on. And once again, I always seem to put them on the wrong hand first. Don't ask me why, but I do. Okay, here we go. We're going to come over here. We're going to set that right there. We're going to let that rest just a minute. And I'm going to take these gloves off for a minute. And I'm going to borrow the camera from Bev a minute because I did promise you a view of the lake earlier. So let's walk down and take a quick look at the lake. We've got to let that rest a minute. Water always makes you feel better. especially you got a nice view, a nice breeze, and it's not too hot a day. Makes for a really good, relaxing atmosphere. So here's the lake. Of course, we're on Table Rock, down by Kimberly. So I did promise you a view, just wanted to show you. So now we'll head back up that way, and we'll see if we can't get Bev to man the camera again. Normally, we're gonna let this thing rest probably 20-30 minutes, but I know I probably can't talk long enough for that, so we're gonna go ahead and pull it out and cut it a little bit, and let's see if we can get a taste. Alrighty, Bev, if you won't mind to man the old camera. Boy, that smells good, I'll tell you. And don't hit any of them side buttons. Okay, folks. Like I said, it hadn't rested near long enough, but we're gonna bring this out. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. Now that is a brisket flat. Okay, and what we're going to do, because that's fat side up, we're going to attempt to put this on a platter and turn it over. And then I love these juices for putting over the meat and things when you're serving it. So I wouldn't necessarily get rid of this juice. Okay. Okay, this is a smaller end. We're going to cut that. And lay that over so you can see it. It's got a pretty color to it. It's tender. Very nice. I got to cut the fat off here because I know Bev will not want the fat.
Nope, I won't eat that.
So, and I forgot to bring forks. So, whoop, I forgot to cut that too, didn't I? Forgot to bring forks, so can you handle a little hot? See that bite right there?
Yeah.
You got it?
Ow.
Hot?
Hot.
Okay, now, I don't mind a little fat, so here we go.
Ow.
Now that is melting your mouth. It's firm enough to hold together, but I'm telling you right now, that's as tender as it can be.
Yeah, good.
And you don't taste the sugar. You taste the seasoning. You taste the smoke. Here, take a look at that right there. You got a little char on the back. You got that right there. I mean, that's a nice piece of meat. We appreciate you guys joining us. As always, at Outdoor Home, we're there to serve you and take care of you and make sure that you have a wonderful backyard and a wonderful grilling situation. Don't hesitate to call us for anything, and we thank you for watching.